Greetings, Doctor. We are from the Group 5 are here to present about the global warming and climate change. Our group members are Tanusha Sivakumar, Nur Adila binti Hasran, Siti Hazira, and I'm Niveta Sopalinga. I'm going to present about the introduction of global warming and climate change. Global warming. Global warming means a slow rise in temperature which is close to the Earth's surface, and often global warming is known as the hottest rise in temperature. The number of causes of global warming are indeed harmful to people, plants, and animals. Talking about climate change. Climate change referred as the long term of alteration of Earth's average temperature and weather patterns. It also defines the tendency of weather over a long period of time according to the sincere climatology. Comparing global warming and climate change together. Global warming and climate change refers to the rise in the world's average temperature brought only by the expansion of the greenhouse effect. There are many point sources that leads to global warming and climate change. However, human activities are the major contributor of this issue. That's all from me, Doctor.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Ravati Zakaria. So for today, I will explain about human interest in global warming and climate change. Climate influences almost every day in our life, from our food sources to our transportations, infrastructure, from the clothes what we wear, and from when we go. It's a significant impact on our livelihood, healthy, and our future. We know that humans are causing a climate change, and these have been changed already that having a significant influence on our life. It's a very critical that we understand that how the climate change that changing our life in our future. When a little change in global temperature will destabilize the water cycles, and climate change alter the rainfall patterns, making drought and flooding are more common and severe. We had to take a fast action for this climate change that by a quick result principle upside come through reducing by a short life climate pollutants. These are including the very tens of a million tons early scaplets, crop losses, then enhance the food security, maintain the decay of ecosystem and the ecosystem services, and lowering the likelihood of hazardous. Next, human discovery regarding global warming and climate change. The majority of these temperature shifts are due to minute variations in the Earth orbit that alter the quality of the solar energy of our planet. The 70 years, a Sweden scientist introduced a new hypothesis since 1896 has a human burn fossil fuel like charcoal, adding by a carbon dioxide gas to the Earth atmosphere, that the average of the temperature would be rise. However, the greenhouse effect was simply one of the several hypotheses about the climate change. That's it for me. Thank you.
Hi Doctor, I'm Tanusha Sivakumar. My metric number is CN200202, and I'm going to explain about impacts of human action towards global warming and climate change. So, human activity is the primary cause of the current climate change. Scientists can conclude that human activity is to blame for the planet's global warming because they are knowledgeable about how heat-trapping gases like carbon dioxide behave in the atmosphere. So there are several impacts of humans' action towards global warming and climate change. First of all, rise of sea level, where the disappearance of important habitats and beaches may have an impact on the endangered sea turtle population, warming oceans, shrinking the ice sheets, and declining Arctic sea ice are happening. So two things, including the inflow of water from melting Iceland and the expansion of sea waters as they warm, are the causes of this. According to Shaftel, the rate of sea level rise is 3.19 mm per year. On the other hand, increased ice melting brought on by global warming causes springtime flooding. The amount of spring snow cover in the northern hemisphere has decreased over the past 50 years according to satellite data. Secondly, the rising temperatures around the world causes the coral bleaching and acidification on the oceans affect corals' ability to form skeletons. Other than that, there are also direct psychological effects by heat and cold, high heat effects. So, the acidified waters can make it difficult for corals to absorb calcium from the water, which is necessary for shell formation, and it also dissolves reefs. Direct psychological effect by heat and cold, high heat effects several in Indian states during the early 2015. Sunstroke killed several. Continuous exposure can cause skin damage, eye diseases, adverse effect on immune system and skin cancer. Temperature increases can cause blood pressure, viscosity and pulse, thus increase the death-related cardiovascular disease, and increased stress and malnutrition also adversely affect the health. So thirdly, waterborne infections like cholera, dysentery and diarrhea are among the serious illness that can be happen. So epidemics of waterborne and vector-borne diseases occur as flooding increases breeding places of mosquito vectors and can also breakage in water pipes, septic tanks, sewers, drainage and stormwater gets leak and contamination in potable water sources can happen. Waterborne infections like cholera, dysentery and diarrhea are among the serious illnesses. So in addition, vector-borne diseases including plague, Lyme disease and tick-borne encephalitis as well as hantavirus, pulmonary syndrome and vector-borne illnesses like falciparum malaria, vivax malaria, dengue, elephantiasis, yellow fever and West Nile fever can occur. So lastly, floods and landslides are extreme two natural disasters that could be happen. So floods and landslides are two natural disasters that significantly increase in frequency with global climatic change in nations like Bangladesh, the Netherlands, Egypt and Sudan. Ocean temperature are rising owing to global warming, which in turn causes the wind speed to rise. So when causes the wind speed to rise, the maximum wind speed surpasses 74 miles per hour. This is known as a hurricane in the Atlantic and a typhoon in Pacific. So, the entire human beings are truly hoping for a better tomorrow without the effects of global warming and climate change. Therefore, there are quite many measures must be taken in order to overcome all the climate change and global warming issues in order to conserve and preserve the environment, flora and fauna as well as to improve human health well-being. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Now, let's take a look into the mitigation measures. The first thing that we have to do to overcome global warming and especially climate change effect is implement the CO2 mitigation to overcome greenhouse gas effect which causes climate change. First of all, we have to limit or reduce the carbon dioxide emissions into the atmosphere. The second one is underground injection or geologic sequestration as the transportation, storage of captured carbon in factories and power plants. Last but not least, the third measure could be reducing atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration, post-emission control by boosting things such as afforestation, reforestation and deforestation prevention. Moving on to the second measure, which is global warming and climate change are significantly related. Hence, the mitigation measures are also similar to one another. First factor that we can concentrate is the energy. We can increase the energy efficiency in engines and boilers. We can switch to low carbon fossil fuels such as natural gas, introduce flue gas decarbonization and carbon sequestration, increase the use of renewable energy sources and conserve energy. And what does the industries can do is that they can reduce greenhouse gas emissions such as methane, They can switch to energy efficient technology and put the 5R practices into count. Moving on to the agricultural aspect, the agricultural can develop new management techniques to reduce the tillage, recycling of crop residues, mixed cropping, and avoid monoculture. Restoration of wetlands and improve energy efficiency in agriculture is also important, as well as reduce their biomass burning and manage fertilizer used to reduce nitrous oxide production is what the agriculture can do. And the other factor is the forestry. The forestry can substitute burning fossil fuel wood for fossil fuels, and also the forestry can implement the afforestation and reforestation in order to overcome the climate change and global warming. Last but not least, what the government can do is that develop industrial land use to plan to minimize energy consumption. They can plan disposal of waste material in order to reduce the production of methane and carbon dioxide. The government can provide incentives taxes which for the excess energy consumption, and also the government can provide incentives for energy consumption and minimize greenhouse gas emissions, such as by reducing the taxes for those who are using energy consumption, who are conserving the energy especially. And last but not least, what the government can do is improve energy efficiency by recycling and implementing proper waste disposal. That's all from me, Doctor. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Adila binti Hasran and my metric number is CN 2069. Today I will present about environmental health professional activities. What is environmental health? Environmental health is a branch of public health that focuses on the relationship between people and their environment, promotes human health and well-being, and fosters healthy and safe communities. Environmental health is an important element of an comprehensive public health system. The fieldwork to advance policies and programs that reduce chemical and other environmental exposure in water, air, soil, and food in order to protect people and provide healthier environments in communities. Environmental health involves assessing and investigating the effect of man-made chemical on human health or wildlife, as well as the effect on ecological system and the spread of illness or disease. Climate change and global warming are primarily development issues. Climate change refers to action taken to limit global warming and its associated effects. Climate change and global warming are frequently used interchangeably, but climate change refers to long-term change in average weather, as example is temperature, precipitation, humidity, wind, atmospheric pressure, ocean temperature, and others. Whereas global warming refers to a rise in the Earth's average global temperature. So here is the professional environmental health for overcome the global warming and climate change. Firstly is renewable the energy sources. The first step toward preventing climate change is to move away from fossil fuels. Renewable energy is usually at the top of the list of change that the world can make to minimize the worst effect of rising temperature. This is due to the fact that renewable energy sources like solar and wind do not emit carbon dioxide or other greenhouse gases that contribute to global warming. Other than that is planting a tree. Planting more trees can help to fight the climate change and global warming. They not only produce oxygen but also absorb carbon dioxide during the photosynthesis process, which is the primary cause of global warming. Every day, trees provide numerous benefits to us. They provide cooling shade, block cold winter winds, attract bird and wildlife, clean our water, purify our air, prevent soil erosion, and add grace and beauty to our communities and homes. And lastly is recycle. Recycling helps in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions by reducing energy consumption. The use of recycled materials in the manufacture of new products reduces the need for virgin materials. This reduces greenhouse gas emission caused by the extraction or mining of virgin materials. Furthermore, manufacturing products from recycled material use less energy than manufacturing products from virgin materials. Next is environmental health concept in other fields such as food safety, solid waste, air, and also water. So I will express more the knowledge about environmental health concept to the field. Firstly is food safety. Food safety is important as it helps to protect consumers from the risk of foodborne illness. It also helps to prevent consumers from risk of health-related conditions such as allergy and even death. It also protects food processing establishments from product recall, which result in financial losses due to unsafe product. Other issues due to unsafe product which can impact a business include rejected product, possible lawsuits, and business closure by the public health authorities due to report of unsafe products sold to the general public. Next is solid waste. In all member states, there is widespread public apprehension about health and safety in relation to management of the growing amount of waste in need of disposal. Its expression is most marked in public reluctance concerning the establishment of new waste disposal sites, especially sites for the disposal of industrial waste. This appears to stem partly from a past history of inadequate and sometimes illegal waste disposal practice, partly from fear of the effect of chemical waste on health and the ecosystem, and partly because a perceived social stigma attached to living near a disposal site. Public rejection of necessary new disposal site is now widely seen as one of the most intractable problems in community development. It is of fundamental importance for good public health protection that community waste are frequently collected and disposed of in a safe manner. Municipal waste, the amount of which are increasing in most communities, are typically heavily contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms and should not be allowed to accumulate where ready access, particularly by children, is possible. Landfill and incineration that are properly controlled and regulated provide safe disposal methods. Other than that is about air. Action to control air pollution is required mostly because of the effect it has on the respiratory system. Exposure to a host of gaseous agents, primarily from fossil fuel power and heating plant and from road traffic, and to suspended particulate matter from energy production, diesel engines and processing increases bronchial and lung mobility and exacerbate pre-existing respiratory pathology. The interaction between volatile organic compounds and oxide of nitrogen and oxygen under the effect of sunlight result in the production of ozone, hydroxy radical, and a number of organic irritants that induce lacrimation and mucosal irritation. Chronic respiratory disease and asthma are aggravated by some form of air pollution. Lung function may be reduced, and exposure may contribute to the incidence of lung cancer. While the major current concern is with pollution outdoor, most people spend more of their life indoor, where air pollution can be aggravated by cooking with gas stove, particularly if improperly vented and the use of open fires. And lastly is water. The secure and ready availability of drinking water of good quality and adequate quantity remains the backbone of public health service and of affordable disease prevention. Waterborne bacterial, protozoal, and viral disease remain a major cause of morbidity and important contributor to mortality. There are still many industrialized and highly urbanized areas throughout the region where liquid waste is untreated or only partially treated before discharge. However, except in circumstances such as outbreak of cholera, typhoid, or hepatitis, there are few well-founded studies designed to identify the incidence of human illness associated with contaminated water sources. The overall incidence of waterborne infection is difficult to quantify because medical advice is sought only in the more serious case. Make every effort to provide safe drinking water. Where drinking water is in need of disinfection, chlorination remains an excellent, economical and simple method to achieve it in most areas. Thank you.